Hey, it's time to get up. Nah, for real. Actual King Smith. Let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What you sleeping on your life for? Wake up, wake up, wake up. Every day's a chance for more. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Hands up, let the beat thump. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Hey, hey, wake up. Alarm clock ringing, but your mind still tired. Dreams on snooze, yeah, goals on fire. Everybody talk, but few take steps. Same old excuses, different regrets. I ain't here preaching, I'm here reminding. Pressure make diamonds, time to divine. You got breath in your body, fire in your chest. So why you living like you set up for less? Get up off that couch, move your feet. New mindset every time we meet. No doom scrolling, no fear feet. This the real talk over funky beats. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What you sleeping on your life for? Wake up, wake up, wake up. Every day's a chance for more. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Hands up, let the beat thump. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Hey, hey, go. No cape, no crown, still king energy. Talk my truth, that's my identity. Life get heavy, yeah, I've been stressed. Still showed up, put hard in the test. If they doubt you, good, prove them wrong. Same doubt, fuel, make it go strong. Ain't waiting on luck, I hustle with faith. Mind on progress, foot on the gas and say what? Say now, say move, say how, say what? Say what? Get in the bed, shut up and get up and wake up, wake up. It's a moment, don't waste none. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Sun still rise, so you ain't done. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Beat knocking, let your soul jump. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Hey, 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 wake up. Yeah, this ain't motivation. This is a reminder. Wake up, wake up. Hey, hey, hey. Wake up, wake up.
Yeah, what's up? What's good? What's happening? Welcome to my live stream. I am the actual King Smith, and this is Wake Up with the Actual King Smith. Thursday, February 26, 2026. 2 days after the State of the Union address. A couple of more days left in the shortest month of the month here, and it's starting to warm up a bit, at least where I'm at here in Maryland. Want to give a shout out to Stacy Fieldman, who popped up in a building that said, hi, what up, Stacy? Appreciate you tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your day, whether it's just starting, ending, or whatnot. Had a couple of technical difficulties this morning. My thumbnail's wrong. Started about a minute late, but we're going to get right into it. If you're new to my channel, I do a morning live stream where I come on and talk about whatever the funk I want to talk about. On Thursdays, I give what's called a Zepdate, as I'm taking the GLP-1 known as Zepbound, or called Zepbound. It is one of the GLP-1s that are out there. The medicine that you are seeing people talk about more, that are on commercials. It's effective. It does what it needs to do, but there are a couple of things that hits different people in different ways, and I'm going to give my update on how it's affecting me. So I started taking it at 288 pounds. It was prescribed to me by my cardiologist, as I can't do the typical things that people with a normal cardiac function can do. So it was recommended to me and prescribed to me that I take a GLP-1, and I got issued or prescribed Zepbound. I've been taking it since, I have to go back and take a look at my records, but I want to say September or October time frame. And I am now down to 251 as of this week's update. Last week I was 250, and I don't have my picture right here to be able to verify this, but I'm saying I was 255, and that was after coming off of 2 weeks where I was sick and not doing anything. And I was, eating and drinking while not being active at all. And I believe that that's what attributed to the weight gain. But now that I've been more active and staying on top of things, I've lost about 3 pounds over the last week, and things are moving back on track. I take the shot, and I'm at 12.5 milligrams, and I take it in the stomach. This is my 6th shot of the 12.5 milligram. And what I believe I'm noticing as far as symptoms, and it could be a mix of things, is that, and I hope you're not eating, but my GI, my stomach, sometimes I'm having to run to the restroom 2 to 3 times a day. And when it happens, it comes quick. Now, I don't know. Why is my sound effects not working? Let me see. Every time I think I have my sound effects right, things get messed up. So let's do. Yeah, I got to get this fixed. I don't know why my sound effects aren't working properly, but that's my Zepdate. When I do have to use the restroom, I've got maybe T minus 25 seconds until I've got to be handling my business. That's how quick it happens. That's how rapid it happens. And I'm not sure if I attribute that to taking the GLP-1 or if it's what I'm eating at the time, which I am lactose intolerant, so I can't do, your milk, your cheeses and things like that, your gravies, certain gravy stuff. So I'm careful about what I eat and what I ingest. So I'm not quite sure if it's the GLP-1 or if it's something else. So if you're somebody that's experiencing that while taking a GLP-1 shot, let me know. And let me know what you did or how it affected you, and if there were any recommendations that you have to combat that. All right, so that's my Zepdate. Today's topic, or what I want to cover, there is a YouTuber that I follow. His name is James White. He's a former criminal defense attorney. Used to be a cop at one point. And he has a pretty popular YouTube channel called Southern Drawl Law. And if you are from the South, you understand what that Southern Drawl is. Very unique name, very nice name. The guy does some fantastic content. He's got over 158,000 subscribers. Very active. I subscribe to his channel. When I'm trying to learn about law and legalese things, there's a couple of people that I follow, and he's one of them. He, about 2 months ago, talked about how he was coming back from a cruise and was speeding through the state of Georgia and got pulled over by Georgia cops, Georgia State Patrol. I'm not quite sure which agency, but pulled over by officers in Georgia. And he admitted that he was going 90-something in a 70-something, or at least he admitted it to the camera. And one of the things that I think he did wrong in this video was he talks about how you need to not give the cops anything that they don't need to have, right? That when it comes to, there's a lot of legal things that happens when it comes to getting stopped by the police, and officers are relying on your ignorance of things that can sometimes allow them to tack on or add on additional things that don't need to be added on to, right? So, for example, if you're getting pulled over where it was the cop was observing you either by radar or looking at his eyeballs or pacing you, that you were speeding, asking where are you coming from, where are you going, anything like that, you don't need to answer those type of questions. Those are fishing questions. It has nothing to do to pertain to you getting pulled over for speeding. Now, there's other things that can go along with that, right? Like if you know what, I'm not even going to get into that because I'm not smart enough to talk about it. But in this case, he always talks about on his channels as he's giving his opinion on things that you should and shouldn't do. So let's take this clip of one of his recent videos where he gives an update about a video that he did 2 months ago. So actually, I'm gonna go to his channel first. So this is his channel here, Southern Drawl Law. And I'm going to go to the specific video that I'm going to point out about 2 months ago, where he gives an update about on him getting pulled over. And I'm looking for it. The title of it is Killer Cop Sues FOP. So let me find that one. And I know it's here. It's about 2 months ago. Looking for it. Right here. So this was 2 months ago. It got 43K views. And this is the original video where he talks about himself getting pulled over and what happened with it. Well, it's interesting how life goes because he has an update on that same cop that pulled him over. And I'm going to go and share a video that came out 2 days ago, in which he talks about his incident and what the update was for it. So let's take a listen.
And was pulled over in a.
If I could get my sound to work. Come on, YouTube. We're going to get this figured out. Let's do this. Here we go.
Small town called Hayhira, Georgia. I was so impressed with the officer who stopped me that I decided I would feature the story of my traffic stop on the rebuttal, and I would award the officer with Good Cop of the Week. If you don't remember or you didn't catch that episode, this is what I said. And now, the teaser that you've all stuck around for, your boy, caught slipping. You guys know when I see a cop watcher or an auditor or just some citizen trying to hold the cops accountable and doing it while something on their vehicle provides an invitation for a pretextual stop, I'll generally say, you know, that's probably not a good idea. Well, you know what else is not a good idea? Talking massive amounts of shit about Georgia law enforcement and then happily speeding my ass right through the state while ignoring the fact that half of them are sitting around slobbering thinking about catching me riding dirty.
So what he means by that is this. As he gives updates, there are certain states that you just don't want to get pulled over by. One of my cousins, or cousin by relation, anyway, they were on a lacrosse team that was coming back from a tournament or a game going through Georgia when they got pulled over and had their rights violated. They actually took the Georgia State Patrol to court over it. And I don't know what the update was on that, but this was a couple of years ago, and it completely traumatized everybody that was on that bus. Georgia cops are notoriously known for overstepping like a mother when it comes to these incidents in which they pull over vehicles. So in James's case, he talks about how when he's coming from his when he's coming from his vacation and he's going through Georgia, it's probably not a good idea to be speeding while going through the same state because, you know, these cops, it's not like they don't watch content like this. And if you are one of these agencies that makes the radar, you likely sometimes get briefed out, or the chief of police or people that have a stake in their image. They're wanting to know what the people out there are talking about when it comes to the agencies that are under their watch. So it is highly likely that some states, some law enforcement agencies, they're aware of this guy's videos and the feedback that he's given. And I'm pretty sure that there are some people out there that'll be licking their chops to catch folks that are critical about what they do. So let's check out the rest of this video.
Well, kids, the day of accountability came for me yesterday. We left the port of Miami around 8 a.m. and I knew I needed to get home because I needed some rest, and I had a 14-hour drive in front of me, and as such, I was hauling ass. Just north of Valdosta, there is a small town, and I think I'm pronouncing it right, called Hahira, Georgia, spelled Hahira. And in Hahira, Georgia, I noticed in my rear view that a police car was rapidly making its way into traffic and was clearly stalking its prey. I moved from left to right in an effort to avoid drawing attention to myself and in hopes that they were looking for someone else, but that would not be the case. My vehicle was very quickly overtaken, and I was greeted by Officer Caleb Abney of the Hahira, Georgia Police Department. Young Caleb shocked me with the information that he too knew that I had been traveling at a modest 92 miles an hour in a zone limited to 70 miles per hour, and he asked me very politely whether there was any reason for the speed. Now, I very much believe what I tell you guys about keeping your evidence to yourself. And had young Caleb gone fishing, he would have been met with my standard toolkit of inviting him to go fuck all the way off because he wasn't going to get anything out of me. But all he said was, any reason for the speed? And, you know, maybe there was an emergency. Maybe there was a legitimate reason why somebody would be speeding. I just didn't have one. And I had no intentions of trying to talk my way out of it because I was 100% guilty.
Now, that's something that you should never do. You should never try to talk your way out of whatever the police officer is trying to do. And I've gotten a lot smarter about this since I've been recently pulled over. And one time it was a complete fishing expedition. The cop just didn't like where I came out of, and they used the reason of an obstructive license plate cover to pull me over. Tried to ask 3 or 4 times if I would consent to my vehicle being searched, which every time I politely said no. I had my driver's license, ID, my driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance already ready when he pulled me over. And where I failed was that he had asked me where I'm coming from. And I didn't think to include where I was legit, where he saw me come from. I gave the last place that I was at, which was a truthful statement. And even then, that was the wrong thing to do. I did not have to answer that. Anytime a police officer asks you where you're coming from, just door blink them, just like this. Oh, you're going to answer that? Let them go about their process of getting through why they're detaining or stopping or pulling you over. Do not give them any additional information when they're asking fishing questions like that.
And being, again, that I have done multiple recent videos talking all manner of shit about Georgia cops, I also knew that if young Caleb coupled my erratic lane change, which he also mentioned that he noticed, my weaving in and out of traffic, and the speed, he could very easily have convinced a judge in a small town in Georgia that he had PC for reckless driving, and he could have hauled my ass off to jail and towed my car. So I refused to pick up a shovel and dig. I was polite, I handed my documents over, and I waited for the inevitable, my citation. Young Caleb went back to his vehicle, returned in just under 9 minutes with a citation, and then we had a good chuckle as I signed it, and I told him the truth, which is that the only problem I had with him was that I worked really hard to pass all these slow motherfuckers up, and now I had to do it all over again because of him. We shared a laugh, we shook hands, and we went our separate ways. Now, I tell that story in full acknowledgement that I intentionally made incriminating statements about my position on this traffic stop. But I want to be clear about this because I think it's important that you understand this about me as a person.
Which is funny because I watch a lot of his videos. I want to say I've watched the last 6 months. I might have consumed every video that he's put out, and he's always talking about things that you shouldn't do. Yet in this video, when he gets pulled over, he is being transparent and honest about what he did. And he did some of the very things that he counsels people as a criminal defense attorney on what not to do. That part's interesting to me. Because for me, if I know better, I'm doing better.
Every single week I get on the internet and in front of hundreds of thousands of people, I preach about accountability, mostly for our public servants. But I believe all the way around in a 360-degree concept of personal responsibility. I don't talk about these things so that I can have a platform to leverage where I can do whatever I want without consequence. I don't seek to avoid accountability in my personal life. Every negative aspect of my personality gets worse if I allow myself to get out of negative consequences for doing things that I shouldn't do. I have a job to do, and that job is to lead my family, and I lead by example. Plus, every single time that my wife and I are driving down the road and I happen to lose control of the weight of my foot and I get into the accelerator, my wife very sweetly tells me, you better slow down or you're going to get pulled over and get a ticket. And every single time I say, if I do, I'll be a big boy and I'll take my lick. I'll accept the consequences. Well, I'm not going to deprive her of the satisfaction of such an enormous I told you so to be levied on someone like me who does what I do. You catch me slipping, I will take my medicine. I should have known and done better. So I'll be sending my money to Hahira, Georgia for having sped through their very tiny town. But I just have to say, Caleb Abney conducted this traffic stop exactly the way he should have. He asked no itinerary questions. He did not seek to identify my passenger, my wife. He did not ask about drugs or drinking. He did no fishing. He had no idea who I was. He did not approach the vehicle in a rage and acting personally offended because of my speed, which a lot of cops would have done. He did not tell me all the things he could have done, like towing my car or arresting me for reckless driving. He was just a nice kid. He treated me very politely. He kept everything within the scope of the original stop, and he gave me a ticket that I deserved to get. And so for that reason, Caleb Abney is this week's Good Cop of the Week.
So that was the prior video from 2 months ago that he did, in which he just shared a personal anecdote or personal story on his life where he got pulled over and what happened. And he also happened to have called out the officer by name, an officer by the name of Caleb Abney. Now, in the video that got released 2 days ago, there was an interesting update. Well, let's see what that update was.
After the stop, I reached out to the clerk of court, whose name was Jamaica Johnson. Every single person I've talked to in Hahira, Georgia is like the nicest person, by the way. Miss Johnson coordinated with me as to how I could take care of it, and I learned that the fine for that citation was $360. I subsequently paid the fine as promised on the court date of February 6th, and I never spoke to Caleb Abney again. This past Thursday afternoon, I was scrolling Facebook, and I saw what I recognized as Caleb's face. And thinking that he had won some award for traffic safety or some other award, not nearly as prestigious as my virtual Good Cop of the Week award, by the way, I stopped to read the post and my heart dropped to the pit of my stomach because the post began with RIP. And it said, Georgia police officer Caleb Abney was struck and killed during a traffic stop on I-75 at 12:09 a.m. Officer Abney had pulled over a car on the northbound lanes of Interstate 75 near mile marker 31. While he was sitting in his patrol vehicle with the emergency lights activated, the driver of a car traveling at speeds of 100 miles per hour crashed into the rear of his vehicle, pushing it into the rear of the car he had pulled over. The collision caused all three vehicles to leave the roadway. Officer Abney died of his injuries at the scene. Officer Abney had served with the Lowndes County Fire Rescue before becoming an officer with the Hahira Police Department. Now, before I say more, I do want to mention that with permission from Caleb's loved ones, a friend of the family has set up a GoFundMe. This GoFundMe is the only one that they've actually authorized as of right now, and it was set up by a person named Debbie Robinson. As you know, scams are pretty prevalent in situations like this, so the only one that I know of that's approved is the one set up by Debbie Robinson. I'll have a link to that GoFundMe page in the description of this video. If it's on your heart to donate to this GoFundMe page, please do not mention me or anything to do with me. I don't want or need credit for sharing it, but I do know that there are those among the audience who will contribute, and I just want to share it for that reason. I've got a few more things to say. I'm not trying to make this about me, but I do just have to say that it hit me like a ton of bricks to read that Caleb Abney had been killed.
Again, rest in peace to that officer. Very full circle moment in which he shared on his very public channel one instance in which he was speeding, got pulled over for speeding. There was everything that was in what he was doing to have gotten him charged and probably convicted. I mean, he's a criminal defense attorney himself. Maybe he knows a way that he could have defended against that. And the irony of just scrolling through Facebook, scrolling through social media, recognizing the face of someone that he recently had an interaction with approximately 60 days beforehand, and seeing that that officer lost his life in performance of his duties because of someone that did something very similar to what he did. So it caused Mr. White here to reflect on that interaction and that incident.
It hit me so hard that I started wondering, like, why? Not why did it hit me so hard? Not why did I care? I mean, I know why I care. It always makes me sad to learn about someone dying, especially someone with their whole life ahead of them. But it caused me to start asking, why did our paths cross? Of all people, why me and why him? And I haven't stopped thinking about Caleb and his family since I read that post. Last night, I was getting ready to get in the shower. I was doing a couple things, and I was just sort of like slowing my brain down and just scrolling Facebook. And I saw that Caleb's obituary had been posted. I read it, and roughly halfway down the page, that familiar feeling returned to me, and my heart dropped to the pit of my stomach again. Caleb Daniel Abney, 9/24/1999 to 2/19 of 2026, age 26. Officer Caleb Daniel Abney, Caleb, by friends and family, departed this transitory world and joined his loving grandparents in heaven at the feet of his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ on Thursday, February 19th, 2026. Caleb was born on September 24th, 1999 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. That's literally 3 days before my son was born in 1999. As his mother was a U.S. Air Force nurse, Caleb grew up along with his 3 siblings at Wright Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, followed then by Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi, and then finally Moody Air Force Base in Valdosta, Georgia, where the family put down roots when his parents retired from their careers. Caleb graduated from Lowndes County High School in Valdosta, Georgia, class of 2018. He received an associate degree in science, criminal justice from SNHU in 2020. Caleb was an avid hunter and fisherman and enjoyed many other outdoor activities, never wanting to be stuck indoors. He loved getting his hands greasy, working on automobile engines and farming implements. Caleb met the love of his life, Jordan Alexis Hicks, in 2022. In early 2025, he snuck away to Puerto Rico while his sisters and Jordan were there on a girls' trip and asked for her hand in marriage. She said yes, and the young couple bought a house together and set an I do date for April 18th, 2026. Caleb was talented in many areas of social conversation, but especially the gift of jocularity. He could take the dullest of stories or events and have his audience rolling on the floor in laughter until they could no longer breathe. Caleb had a heart for public service and joined the Hayhira Police Department after working for the Lowndes County Fire and Rescue. In his short tenure as a Hayhira, Georgia police officer, Caleb, because of his cheerful personality, had the ability to make people feel okay when he gave them a ticket. He even told one person to quit crying. You're not a criminal. He was awarded Good Cop of the Week by an attorney out of Tennessee who did police audits after his traffic stop.
And he finishes and reads the rest of that obituary. And I'm going to skip forward here and close out the live stream with this part.
I'll be honest with you guys. Seeing a reference to me in his obituary was a gut punch. I had to stop, take a beat. I was moved to tears. I clearly am now. There was nothing about me that was worthy of the honor of being mentioned in Caleb's obituary. But the fact that I was circled me back around to this nagging question. Why? Of all people, in all places, at all times, what are the odds that a former cop and prosecutor turned defense lawyer who makes a living exposing corruption and an allergy to accountability in law enforcement would get pulled over by Caleb Abney on what would unknowingly be 67 days before the end of his life? I have more questions than I do answers, just as everyone who actually knew and loved Caleb does. And frankly, I'm in the trenches of a spiritual battle that causes me to question most of what I believe about my faith, but I can tell you that I believe this with my whole heart. Caleb's path crossed with mine so that I could have a constant reminder that there are good men and women who put on a uniform and badge. They do not demand recognition. They put their heads down, they go to work, and they try to come home.
And I agree with that. Depending on what your algorithm does here on YouTube, it can feed you a lot of bad cop interactions because, right, those interactions have some dire consequences when they're done incorrect or when they're done wrong. And I believe most people like myself, if you know you're going about your business, and let's say you're going about your business the proper way, you don't want your rights violated. It is a bad feeling when someone intentionally does things that violates your rights. Like, it can make you feel it's hard for me to describe the feeling, but I'll just sum it up by saying that it'll make you feel some type of way if you were to catch one of those bad cops that ends up doing bad things and you feel like there's nothing that you can do about it when you know that they're wrong. Some people go about things when they're wrong thinking that they know that something's not right, but they're adding insult to injury by doing a lot of things procedurally wrong themselves and causing themselves to get hemmed up. There are a lot more cops that are good than there are bad. Unfortunately, to me, it's one of those jobs that you can't have a bad cop be out there on the street. Somebody that's a raging bad guy with a badge that wants to go out and smack people around and slam folks for no reasons just because they assert what their rights are. Okay. Some people try to assert what they think are their rights, and it's not proper. But I believe that everybody should educate themselves on what their rights are. And that's why I watch channels like Southern Drawl Law, so that I could learn what it is. Because a police officer would tell you ignorance of the law is an excuse. But I think that the same thing applies to police officers as well. Ignorance of your own procedures shouldn't be an excuse for you to violate somebody's rights or to violate somebody's civil rights or things like that.
I needed that reminder because sometimes the work that we do on this channel causes us to be desensitized to the human condition. And if we're not careful, we see enough bad that we can start to believe that all cops are bad. And if we're not careful after that, we can start to believe that everyone who doesn't look like us, talk like us, see the world the same way as us is also bad. And that might lead us to think that most people are bad. And then if we're really careless, that nihilism can cause us to find that we are all alone with our grievances and, God forbid, in close proximity to a mirror that might serve to remind us of our own flaws. To Caleb's family, I want you to know this. During the traffic stop, his officer safety was 100% on point. Every few seconds, I observed him looking behind him, monitoring traffic, and being as safe as he could possibly be. He was aware, as he and I even discussed, how dangerous it could be if he lingered too long by the driver's door. He conducted himself like a person who valued his life. And while I wasn't there and I don't know what I don't know, I believe wholeheartedly that he did not lose his life because he was unsafe, careless, or irresponsible with it. And I hope it gives you comfort to know that he left me with the impression that if he'd had a vote, he'd still be lighting up your rooms, commandeering the spotlight with his storytelling, and stealing your affection.
So I'm going to stop the video right there. First of all, again, like I said, rest in peace to Caleb. He was a couple of months away from getting married to someone who he had met and known since 2022. And I went and checked out the Facebook page in which that obituary was there, and there were several people that commented and had nothing but good things to say about him. To Southern Drawl Law, James, I have a question for you. If you see this video, I would love a response. Does that change how you view your own behavior for what you admitted had occurred? And it sounds like you do fairly often. And the reason why I smile when I ask that question is this: I don't really speed. If anything, I feel bad about going 5 over the speed limit whenever I'm out on the road. After, living 41 years on this earth, I've observed what happens when something happens beyond your control. It could be fatal for either you or other people involved. So in this case, your interaction with Officer Caleb Abney occurred about 2 months prior to this update, in which you admitted, after coming back from a cruise from Miami, driving through Georgia, I'm assuming getting back to Tennessee, that you were speeding, going about 20 plus miles per hour over the speed limit. And you got pulled over and you were ready to accept whatever those consequences were. That's good. What I had thought you might have brought up was that irony in how the same thing that you were doing, or I'm not even going to say the same, something that was very similar, had occurred while Officer Abney was performing his duties, and somebody that was doing excessive speeding ended up maybe losing control of their vehicle or something and caused a grievous injury or injuries to other people, one in which was Officer Abney losing his life. I wonder if you're going to reflect on that, and if that is going to be a determining factor going forward. If you're still going to have such a heavy-leaded foot while you're traveling on the highways, or if you're going to be more, is respectful of the laws the right word to say? And keep it to whatever the speed limit is. That's what I'm curious about. I think it is fantastic that you do what you do. And in this case, even in 2 months ago, you gave that good cop award or that good cop a designation to Officer Abney when you realized that you were out there and you did something wrong, and that Officer Abney did his job professionally. And then you have the full circle moment where you see him 2 months later and you realize that he tragically lost his life. So that's my question to you, James. And that's my question really to anybody out there as I wrap up and head to work here. How precious is life to you? I talk very often about how I reflect on things. And when doing that, those reflections, are you practicing what you preach? Are you implementing the things that you reflect on and using those as a measure of how you carry yourself throughout your days while you're out here living? I know I do. I'm curious if others do as well. That's my live stream for today. Be sure to hit that like button, and I will see you tomorrow on Wake Up with the Actual King Smith. Peace.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Trumpets blare the golden call. A throne awaits, I rise so tall. Drums like thunder, shake the hall. Royal rope, I wear the weight. Diamonds cut the night, no debate. Heavy is the head, but I'm feeling great. Crown me king, crown me king.